Now, technological innovations like cell phones and video games have become even more prevalent over the past few decades, with children and young people spending more and more time immersed in these gadgets, and too much screen time can have an impact on the development of young minds and bodies. Joining us today is Dr. Amber Googe, a pediatrician with North Mississippi Medical Services. How are you doing today?
We're good.
All right. So we're going to go through everything, such as, physical, mental, and how we can avoid something like this. So first, I really want to start with the physical. Like, you're looking down at your screens, they're everywhere. What are the effects that the screen can have on young children, say on, their neck and their eyes and other places?
Sure. You've seen the children who, out and about, who are simply staring at a phone, or they're even in the doctor's office, and I'm trying to interview them, and they're locked into their phone,
Right.
Anticipating that their parents will answer their questions for them. But that's certainly going to have longer term effects that than we have data on now. And more now, maybe anecdotally, we're seeing children need glasses to read up close.
Yeah.
That's something you might not have dealt with into your late 50s or 60s before. And that, again, no doubt has to do some with the strain that we're putting on our eyes, staring at up close text on a phone or a screen of some sort more now than we ever did before.
Yeah. And so now moving on to the mental health aspect, of course, we don't have a lot of data on this because a lot of these kids are Gen Alpha. Can you tell me what you guys have seen so far, how this could have an impact on mental health with younger children?
Sure, especially the adolescents who are given a little bit more free control of what's on their phone or their iPad. They can download apps and sort of be on them a bit, unpoliced, if you will. And many of those are social media platforms. You name the ones where you can remain on them for hours and kind of endlessly scroll and find yourself looking into things that lead to worry or anxiety or feelings of sadness, inadequacy, sort of comparing yourself to what you see on a screen that may or not be reality. But a young mind, someone who's 11, 12, 13, and maybe even 35, we don't always realize this isn't really reality, and how should I let this impact my day-to-day life, I guess.
Okay. And how do we, I guess you could say, move on for that or avoid a lot of these things that we're seeing with parents?
Particularly for those who the horse isn't quite out of the barn yet. So you've got a child who's young and maybe they don't have a device of their own yet, and then for those who do. But just remembering that any of that screen time is completely optional. It's a privilege. They'll grow up to be a perfectly ordinary human with or without it, but definitely without it too. So if you feel that they're on it too much or they've never gotten on it yet, set some really hard ground rules, some boundaries, when you're going to allow it, places in your home where you will not allow it, bedrooms, the dinner table, places where you want to have family engagement and bonding, or better quality sleep. And creating those boundaries and then maintaining them. And then also time limits too. So there are some pretty well-founded guidelines. We don't want these children on the screens for any more than 2 hours a day. Right. For, FaceTiming with a long-distance relative is different than scrolling YouTube. But just kind of setting those limits and then sticking with them. And then maybe even using time on the screen as a reward. If you complete your chores that we've outlined for you, or you score so well on a test, then you have a certain amount of time allowed on the phone. And then luckily they're built in with screen time monitors these days too. Right. You can see what amount of time has been spent on an app, and then as a parent you can set locks on it too. Kids are crafty, they can outsource those things, but it's a place to start.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Googe. You gave some really good information there, so I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.